So, the lecture was interrupted. We've already done our Mangalacharana, offering our obeisance to our gurus, our Guru Varga, acknowledging the appearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Namo Bhaktivinodaya Satchitananda Namine Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupanugavarayate. And so for this day, we're going to hear a lecture given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Narayana Gosvami Maharaj in 2002 in September in Vienna, Austria. It was actually delivered at the Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mission, which was founded by Puja Pad Sri Srimad Bhakti Vaibhava Puri Goswami Maharaj. He has some mats around the world, and Srila Narayana Maharaj commented on the impeccable hospitality of that mat, the organization, and how well he and his devotees were received. Excellent Vaishnava etiquette. And this is actually the example of during the time, or just after the time of Saraswati Prabhupada, there were among certain devotees, followers of his, they cooperated extremely nicely together, and they had a very high degree of etiquette in receiving one another. They had their own sanghas, perhaps even their own speciality, but in terms of their relationships, they weren't sectarian, and they were very openly assisting and embracing one another in that seva. You can read some of the books of Bhaktivinoda Bharti Maharaj, and you get insight into that when he recounts the dealings between these different devotees. And so that he remarked that, the followers of Bhaktivinoda Puri Maharaj, they embraced that. And Bhaktivinoda Puri Maharaj was a very close friend of our Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada invited him to help him install Ananta Shesh at the foundation when he was establishing his first temple in Mayapur, right? And also Bhaktivinoda Puri had invited Srila Prabhupada and his disciples to come to his mat in Puri, and they had stayed for some, maybe 2 weeks, and very nice relationship. So this is a lecture that Srila Narayana Maharaj is going to tell about the life and character of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and also in that, the essence of his teachings, right? And so, it says, there's also an audio version of it. You can get that just by going to purebhakti.com. So, I offer millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my Gurudev, Nityalila Pavishta Om Vishnupad Sri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Goswami Maharaj. My Dandavats to Parama Pujapad Prapuja Charana Om Vishnupad Sri Srimad Bhakti Vaibhava Puri Maharaj, and to our Guru Parampara. And in that same line, we are offering our obeisances to our Diksha Guru, Sri Nityalila Pavishta Om Vishnupad, Asto Tadasat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and to Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalila Pavishta Om Vishnupad, Asto Tadasat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. So, Srila Narayana Maharaj goes on. He says, today we are observing the auspicious appearance day of Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He is to be considered to be the Saptam, seventh Goswami, and he has written more than 100 very authorized books in many languages. There's a lecture on this Pure Bhakti, I think it's in the Rays of the Harmonist. It's by Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Maharaj, and in that he lists the prominent books of Bhaktivinoda Thakur in many different languages. It's quite astonishing, actually. So, he has especially given us two very important gifts. He discovered the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he gave us Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Right, in his lecture, Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Maharaj and this is in the introduction to Jaiva Dharma as well, glorifies Bhaktivinoda Thakur in so many ways. And he said, I would be remiss if I did not mention one especially extraordinary contribution of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that he fathered a very exalted personality, my own guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, and then talked about how Bhaktivinoda Thakur, having established by his own conduct the exceptional practices of a perfect Vaishnava, from brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprast, right, and then full renunciation, but also not so by his sadachar, his behavior, but also by his prachar, his teachings. He had both that he did. And in addition to that, he had prayed that now that I've written so many books, introduced the authentic teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, presented all the explanations of the literatures of the Goswamis, but now we need someone to put this into evangelical form, you could say, right? We have to organize this so Mahaprabhu's mission will now be spread far and wide. And he prayed, please send a ray of Vishnu, right? And after that, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was born. And from the time of his birth, he exhibited extraordinary qualities and symptoms. And it was known that he would be the one in the future who would take up the mantle, the mission of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the Bhaktivinoda Dara, the perfect behavior and perfect teachings, right? So, I want to tell you about an extraordinary kirtan that he wrote and sang. Harinama Tuva Aneka Sarup. O Harinam, you possess unlimited forms. Perhaps we have no idea of the very deep meaning of this kirtan. The analogy is given of a mango seed. We don't see that within the mango seed there is a tree full with branches, leaves, and fruits. The entire tree exists within that seed. If you plant that seed in the earth and water it properly, a beautiful tree will gradually grow from it. A large tree with many branches, leaves, beautiful, sweet fruits, and manjaris will emerge. Cuckoo birds may sit on the branches and sing, cuckoo, cuckoo. Everything is within that seed. But when it is still in a seed form, all this is not apparent to us. It will take some time for us to see the complete tree. Similarly, Guru gives Shabda Brahm, the transcendental sound, or Bhagavan in the form of sound, in the holy name Hare Krishna. But we have not realized anything yet. We chant because Gurudev has told us to do so. After some days, if we don't see any result, we become disheartened and give up our chanting. We think, oh, there's nothing here. On the other hand, if a Sadguru gives Harinam to any strong devotee, that devotee will have so many realizations by following the process of bhakti. He will see Krishna's pastimes in the seed of the holy name and think, oh, Krishna is taking birth from Jashoda. He will think, Nanda Baba is supporting and nourishing Krishna. Krishna is very restless. He is stealing butter from different gopis and is wrestling with Baladev Prabhu. Very interesting. He intends to talk about Bhaktivinoda Thakur and immediately does by bringing up some of his significant teachings, Nam Tattva, in that beautiful song, Hari Nama Tua Aneka Sarup. Beautiful song. But whenever Guru is giving a lecture, he's giving it appropriate to the needs of the audience, immediate needs and long-term. And this reinforcement of our appreciation and understanding of Nam Tattva has to be there, because this is the essential practice that if we don't do this right, we may do every other thing in bhakti, all the other limbs, but we're developing sukriti, bhakti sukriti, right? Without chanting Harinam properly, then our bhakti won't really grow very much. It won't grow. And we won't taste, we won't have a taste for, or understand what real bhakti is, right? Because what is ruchi? Ruchi is realization and taste, awakening taste in Shuddhanam. That's when we first begin to chant Shuddhanam. Up to that, by faith, by determination, by the cleansing of anarthas, we may become nishta and steady in our seva. But when we reach nishta, when we reach ruchi, that's when we begin to gallop, and our bhakti becomes generally accelerated, right, at the stage of ruchi, because then the power of that pure name, then all the subtle anarthas become quickly dispelled. We develop a taste not only in bhajan, but in bhajaniya, the object of bhajan. And then we move into asakti, deep attachment, and from there bhav. But we have to really understand this Nam Tattva. So by speaking about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's bringing up that one of the very essential teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, revealing this name is Krishna himself. And so when we chant that name, we try to cultivate appreciation and fixed focus that, oh, Krishna, this name is you. I want to serve you by chanting your name. And for self-realized souls, that's how they can chant continually and in ecstasy, because at every moment they're tasting. Anandam buddhivardhanam, pratipadam purnamritas vardhanam, sarvatma snapanam, padam vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtan. Right? Increasing bliss at every step. Right? Like being bathed in nectar. Right? So, all the pastimes of Krishna are present. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Yeah, I read that. Okay. Let me reread this little paragraph. Similarly, Guru gives Shabda Brahm, transcendental sound, or Bhagavan in the form of sound in the holy name, Hare Krishna. But we have not realized anything yet. We chant because Gurudev has told us to do so. After some days, if we don't see any result, we become disheartened and give up our chanting. We think, oh, there is nothing here. Nothing here. On the other hand, if a Sadguru gives Harinam to any strong devotee, that devotee will have so many realizations by following the process of bhakti. He will see Krishna's pastimes in the seed of the holy name and think, oh, Krishna is taking birth from Jashoda. He will think Nanda Baba is supporting and nourishing Krishna. Krishna is very restless. He is stealing butter from different gopis and is wrestling with Baladev Prabhu. Right? So all of that, that's the other thing. We have to realize that when you're chanting Shuddhanam, and when your Nam is more perfected and you come into the stage of Bhav, you actually see Krishna's Leela pastimes while chanting. Right? And for those really deeply advanced devotees, they may plunge so deeply in ecstasy that they lose all external consciousness completely and appear as if deeply sleeping or even dead. they so deep. Oh, are they even alive? Put a cotton swab to their nose to see if they're still present in the body. This is the potentiality there. Mahaprabhu exhibited that. We heard that the other day. I believe Maharaj was speaking like that when we were doing the Abhishek of Srimati Radhika. He's talking about Mahaprabhu in that mood. And on the beach in Jagannath Puri, being discovered and his body distended, every joint stretched out 18 inches between every joint. It appeared to be only bones and skin. And when they finally revived him by chanting, and his body assumed its natural form, and he came to external consciousness, oh, why did you call me back? I was so deeply in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And then I heard this chanting and calling, and you called me back. There are many stories about our Goswamis going into these states. Shyamananda Prabhu, Srinivasacharya, others, very amazing stories. All the pastimes of Krishna are present in the holy name, and a pure devotee can see them all. If the disciple can realize the meaning of this kirtan, he will develop a real taste and never fall down. But he must develop some taste. So his first introduction to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, what his teaching, and his teaching on Harinam. So this is well worth studying. Perhaps today you read that song, sing that song, look at the translation, and contemplate it as an assistance to our chanting. A devotee may receive Harinam from his Gurudev and begin chanting. But if one is not becoming free from anarthas and is not developing a taste, he will give up chanting and his devotional service as well. There are many examples of persons who have been renounced sannyasis for 20 or 30 years. Such persons may even have initiated disciples. However, after years of service to his Gurudev, he may conclude, I am in a dilemma. I have not realized anything. Everything that I believed to be true is false. I am giving up my sannyas and my chanting and remembering I will no longer cheat others. I'm going to marry and start a real life. It's not a real realization. There may be some humility there. Oh, I'm a nothing. But really, the material attachments are overpowering, and because there's no taste, no higher taste, no param drishtva nivartate, right, then one becomes overwhelmed. But the real root of that is offenses. That is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that if one has not realized and developed taste in chanting after some time, has not danced in ecstasy and shed tears, if one has that heart of stone or iron, it's because of offenses. And it may be offenses accumulated in this life, or it may be this life and previous lives. We carry offenses from previous lives as well. And recognizing that, I'm somehow checked. We have to analyze our life, our behavior, our relationship with others, and strive mightily to be free from offense, especially criticizing, not to criticize. The only time we should criticize at all is if it's genuinely motivated by the desire to learn from that thing that we want to bring up, that behavior, like you can read about Ajamil, right? Now he became a liberated soul. He went to Vaikuntha. Ordinarily, should never reflect on the defects of someone who's become perfected. But if reflecting on that and their journey, it can help you in your own bhakti, then it's okay. Or if reflecting in that way, if you can instruct others, or help that person themselves, or help yourself. But the motive has to be pure. Otherwise, there's no value in criticism. All that does is create the critical mentality in your heart, and it will spill over into your bhakti. You don't want to do that. Even criticizing ordinary jivas, you become hard-hearted, right? We want to be compassionate and soft-hearted. So, many have fallen because they have no faith in their Gurudev or the holy names. Without this faith, one cannot realize that Srimati Radhika, Krishna, and Rasa are all present in the seed of this name, Hare Krishna. All the pastimes of Krishna described in this song, Harinama Tua, are present within it. All the Braja Leela, Mathura Leela, Dwarka Leela, and Goloka Vrindavan Leela are there. Moreover, new pastimes which have not been written in Srimad Bhagavatam can be discovered in this song. Our Goswamis discovered so many pastimes, and other Goswamis like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur may come and reveal more and more. Right, that's one of the secrets. Sometimes we read the writings of Rupa Goswami or Bhaktivinoda Thakur in this instance and others, and we don't know where they witness that where that pastime that they're describing is written. It may not have been written, right? But they are revealing it by witnessing it within their own heart. And because they are qualified and proven in so many ways, it is non-different from Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, Rupa Goswami is superior to any of the teachers or acharyas that, or even Shukadeva Goswami that we read in Srimad Bhagavatam. How could that be, you wonder? Well, where did Bhagavatam come from? The original 4 shlokas of Bhagavatam come from the Lord himself into the heart of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma taught to his disciples, like Narad Muni, all that he had realized in his heart and all that he had expanded into the form of the Vedas and the Puranas. Narad Muni imparted that to Vedavyas. Vedavyas then, in his meditation, saw so much that had not been described to him by the blessings of Narad Muni, and expanded the Bhagavatam from those 4 verses to what we currently understand. And Sutta Goswami, who had heard that at the time Shukadeva Goswami spoke it, then he narrates it to the sages at Naimisharanya. But something interesting happened. When Shukadeva Goswami spoke to Maharaj Parikshit, because he heard it from Vyas, he heard from Vedavyas, everything that Vyasadeva had realized in his heart. And then he spoke it, right? He narrated it. But Vedavyas and Narad Muni, his guru and Param Guru, Dev, were in the audience. And Jiva Goswami describes that when they heard Shukadeva Goswami speaking Bhagavatam, for them it was as if they had heard it for the very first time. They felt like that. What is he speaking? This is the Bhagavatam, but it's so much more expanded and rich because Vedavyas could see it and write it, but he couldn't taste it in the same way that Shukadeva Goswami could. Because Shukadeva Goswami is an intimate associate of Srimati Radhika as her parrot. Vedavyas is an incarnation of Lord Narayana. He is Vishaya Tattva. He's Vishnu Tattva. So he's experiencing the Bhagavatam as the witness. He can see Krishna and the gopis interacting, but his perspective is the perspective of Krishna, of Vishnu. He doesn't have the perspective and the insights and the moods in his heart of the gopis. But Shukadeva Goswami, as associate of Radha, could taste and understand from that perspective. And so his revelations were so much deeper. And he could give it also because his audience, Parikshit Maharaj, was also qualified to hear this. Right? So, in the same way, our Goswamis coming from Rupa Goswami, who is the topmost maidservant of Srimati Radhika herself, imbued with the same beauty. She looks like Radhika, just a little younger, completely reflects the moods of Srimati Radhika in every way, not as the direct enjoyer with Krishna, but as the assistant to Radhika. And so he, Rupa Goswami, as Rupa Manjari, he was completely empowered by Lord Chaitanya, who is the combined form of Radha and Krishna, to reveal completely the most elevated and secret moods of Manjari Seva, which is not directly written, anywhere. He revealed it in so many ways. So our acharyas can do that. They can do that because they're part of it. And that's the remarkable thing. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as Kamala Manjari, is an intimate associate of Rupa Manjari, Vilas Manjari, Guna Manjari, right? Ananga Manjari. He mentions all of them, Rati Manjari, in his songs, right? So, our Goswamis discovered so many pastimes, and other Goswamis like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur may come and reveal more and more. You should aspire to be like our Goswamis. Have full faith in your guru and continue chanting. Don't be satisfied with chanting only 16 rounds. This is not sufficient to control your restless mind, which is wandering here and there and thinking of worldly things. Chant 64 rounds or 128 rounds with strong faith, and then you will realize all these truths. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that very strong faith is required. Right? Well, Srila Prabhupada had his disciples, us, chant 16, because our minds are so restless, we couldn't sit down for more. But in the other time, he made sure that everyone was fully engaged. When you were in ISKCON in those days, from the time you woke up to the time you took rest, everything was scheduled and coordinated, right? From Mangal Artik, which everyone attended, right, to Japa period, that's when you would chant 16 rounds, then class and Guru Puja, sometimes Bhagavatam and Nectar of Devotion and Guru Puja, then breakfast, then perhaps service in the temple, early lunch, and then everybody would go out on Harinam, right? Harinam Sankirtan, all day long, 8 hours a day, come back, shower, run to the evening program, because by chanting all day long, you're so enlivened. And later, many took up book distribution. The same enlivenment would be there, though. Such taste for artik and chanting because of the full engagement. If we don't have taste, it's because we're not so engaged. And our mind is instead dipping into worldly tastes. And so that interferes with our spiritual taste. But in Srila Prabhupada's time, he imbued his disciples with taste and enthusiasm, complete nishta. I mean, I have to say, I don't think I've ever been engaged, except in periods like when we go to Parikram under guidance of Srila Narayana Maharaj. We had the same kind of full engagement, full nishta, from early morning till you finally put your head on the pillow, fully engaged. That's the gift. And in that engagement, there's no opportunity for offense, because you're always serving, you're always chanting, right? So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the Thakur has written thousands of songs like Yashomati Nandana, Vrajavara Nagara, Gokula Ranjana Kana, and Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari, Rama Krishna Hayagriva. We sing those at noon lunch and in an early morning Mangal Arti. All of the important pastimes of Krishna are within these songs. And if you sing them with faith and honor, these pastimes will be revealed to you. We should try to sincerely follow Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He gave us a treasure chest of realized transcendental literature, and that is why he is called the seventh Goswami. Yes, indeed. I remember years and years ago hearing Srila Narayana Maharaj talk about how much rasa and taste is in these songs, and he mentioning Vaibhava Vishesh and all the names of Krishna. And then reading his commentaries on Vilap Kushmanjali, especially Gopi Geet, because there he's breaking down the names of Krishna that the gopis are singing and explaining so much deep meaning within them and the pastimes connected with them. Then, singing those songs every morning, remembrance of those commentaries and those meanings come into the heart. And the pastime associated with them, it makes it very much more relishable and flavorful, right? And you can chant with more appreciation, right? And then a little more enthusiasm, a little more eagerness. Oh, I understand a taste, a little bit of what this means. Oh, I want to know more. I want to chant that name in such a way that it gives you, Radha and Krishna, so much pleasure. Your gopi associates sing in such a way that gives joy to your heart. I would like to give joy to your heart by my chanting, right? Rather than my chanting and meditating on all my material desires. I want to be able to meditate on your desires and your qualities. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur took birth in Ulagram in the Nadia district, very near to Mayapur and the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His father passed away when he was very young, and he was raised in his maternal uncle's house in Ulagram, and later on he was brought to Calcutta. He studied in Calcutta and was brilliant from his boyhood. He began writing poetry when he was very young, and among his early books was Sri Prem Pradeep. There's a very beautiful autobiography of Bhaktivinoda Thakur that he himself wrote and sent to his son Lalit Prasad. And it was later published with warning by Lalit Prasad, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks very frankly in his early life about how his family, they were half Vaishnava and half Shaktas. His maternal side was Shaktas. And so in their village, many of the practices of the Shaktas were there. And but don't think that he was in any way affected by that. Great devotees are always under the influence and protection of Yogamaya. But he gives so many details of his early life, his family, what it was like to grow up in the village, his early education, all these things, right? His mother's father was very wealthy, that side of the family, but due to circumstances, at one point they lost everything. And then they had to move to the city. So many things transpired. He talks about his challenges, bad health, so many things. And then his connection with the Vaishnavas. And he writes in such a way as if, just like Mahaprabhu, appearing, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his life was led in such a way to show that anybody from any background, even if you came from a background that wasn't practicing pure Vaishnavism, you can come to Vaishnavism, right? And so he was showing that by his example. So, he was very friendly with the family of Rabindranath Tagore. He was a famous Nobel Prize winner poet from India. He's revered as a national treasure. Their family and the family of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his uncles, they were newspaper writers. They had a newspaper. And so they were among the intellectual circle in Calcutta. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur was raised in that, and they were family friends, right? The members of the Tagore family were very learned, but they became Brahmavadis and joined the Brahma Samaj. They wanted to establish the philosophy of the Brahma Samaj, which was based on a mixture of beliefs from the world's major religions. In his book, Prem Pradeep, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur opposed the philosophical principles of the Brahma Samaj. Even though he was very close friends with that family, he vehemently opposed their idea. It was just a khichdi, taking from this religion, that religion. And that's a common tendency that many take up. If you take to bhakti, but you don't go deeply, and you're living kind of on the outside of the jar, then you look here and there and you want to maybe explore this religion, that religion, with the idea of finding the commonality amongst them, which of itself is not bad, but then if you want to use that to preach to others, but if you want to draw and extract truth and meaning from these other scriptures, then that's just redundant. It's like a student of calculus wanting to study different books on arithmetic and geometry and lesser forms of mathematics. It's all there in the higher mathematics. And Mahaprabhu says, don't waste your time studying all these other literatures. You'll be distracted. And the other literatures, they're tainted. They're not as high. If you read the Bhagavatam and read the writings of our Goswamis, then all the teachings of these other religions can be easily understood and reconciled. And you can understand at what stage they're at. One time, Srila Prabhupada for some time was contemplating actually doing a commentary on the Bible. He thought about that because, he wanted to do broad outreach. But then he reconsidered and thought, no time for that. Let me preach and teach from the Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, use all my energies to give these teachings to the world, right? Later on, if somebody wants to do that, they can. But for himself, no need. So, during this time, the Thakur visited different universities of Calcutta, where he lectured and gave classes that were widely appreciated. He was also writing many articles about Sri Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After some time, he left Calcutta and went to live at his grandfather's home in Orissa. His grandfather was a teacher, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also became a teacher while living there. So he went through he didn't actually get a lot of formal education. He was very well read, though, and he became a renowned poet at a very young age. He wrote a poem called the Puri about Maharaj Purushottam, who was the first king to fight with Alexander the Great. And mostly his life is misunderstood. So he wrote this, and it's greatly appreciated in literary circles. There were these sponsors, these wealthy English intellectuals who wanted to encourage the youth of India to become educated in Western conceptions and ideals, and they had a poetry club. And his book was published, and he was praised and all. But he was going to make a big 2-volume thing, but he didn't complete it. He became enamored and distracted by teachings of Mahaprabhu. But at this point, he started out in Calcutta, but he was also studying and reading other philosophies, the Western philosophies, the philosophers like Kant and Descartes and Voltaire and all these others, and also Western religious traditions. And science. He became well educated in all of that. And when you read some of his other literatures, you realize that, how he incorporated that understanding so that he could preach to Westerners. And his Chaitanya Shikshamrita, Bhakti, Tattva, other books, he writes them in a way that are accessible to the Western mind. Right? After that, he went to Jagannath Puri and was appointed deputy magistrate for that district. There was always a British guy in charge, but he was the one that did all the work. He was really the magistrate of Puri. The government, recognizing Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's abilities and high qualifications, assigned him the additional post of supervisor of the Jagannath temple. His management style was very strong and was appreciated by the inhabitants of Jagannath Puri. Many significant events took place while Bhaktivinoda Thakur was there. The members of one group offered him a bribe of 300,000 rupees, which back then was a fortune, and told him, "We want to put a statue of a dog on the top of the Jagannath temple." They wanted to prove that there is no difference between Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra and a dog or a cat. These people thought, all living beings are Brahman and all are equal. If Ganesh, Shakti, and Shiva are Brahman and are worshipped, why not worship a cat or a dog? They are all the same Brahman. This is the degradation of the conception, the Brahman conception. And it shows how far people had come, how far from the original understanding that they had come. All are one, all are Brahm, no difference, right? When we say perverted reflection, dog is a perverted reflection of God. It's God spelled backwards. That's what they are, completely degraded. So, they're all the same Brahman, all one, all same. To show there is no difference between God and the ordinary jiva, this group wanted to put the statue of a dog on the top of the mandir. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur refused to accept the enormous bribe, and he forcefully rejected their request. To prevent the spread of this Mayavad philosophy, he also instructed the residents of Jagannath Puri about the life and teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right, wherever he traveled, he instituted this conception and this practice of what he called nam hata. He would find people that were interested, go to their homes, and speak and preach to them on a regular basis, once a week, twice a week. And gradually, the group would grow because his lectures were so filled with rasa and strong siddhanta, people were attracted. And when it grew to a certain point, he would divide it up, now 2 houses, and then 4 houses, and 6. And when it got to a certain point, now you start a temple. Right? The modern Christians use this method. They call it cell preaching. Each cell will grow. Like a cell, a single cell. At a certain point, there's a thing called mitosis, where it splits into 2, becomes 2 cells. And then those cells split. I had one godbrother once who had been a Christian preacher with that kind of community. And in ISKCON, they started that. What do they call it? They call it I think they call it Kalpavriksha preaching. Anyway, it's that same model. And they're very successful with it. Very successful. Because where there's not a temple, or even when there is a temple, people can't always go there. But if you go to their home regularly, it can have some effect. And they're much more relaxed at home. They're not so on guard. And you can befriend them. The Sanatana Goswami did that, befriended everybody. And Mahaprabhu himself, he didn't introduce the higher conceptions to Venkatabhatta until he'd been there for some months. And then he finally taught the supremacy of Radha Tattva to him, to Pramodānanda Saraswati, his brother, and to young Gopal Bhatta. Right? The developing of a relationship. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur pioneered that. So, in Orissa, there was a powerful yogi named Bibhikshana who wanted to enjoy Rasalila like Krishna. He was a Siddha yogi with long matted locks. And when he would shake his head from side to side, his locks would stand on end and flames would shoot out of his hair. And so for common people, oh, that's so amazing. He must be God. Even nowadays, remember that Sai Baba character? He's passed on now. He used to show what people thought were mystic yoga, but actually magicians exposed him and showed that actually they were just sleight of hand. He'd take a pot, see, it's empty, and then he'd reach his hand in and be shaking it around upside down, and unlimited ashes would come out of the pot. Oh, he's manifested ashes, he must be God. Or he would, do something, and all of a sudden a shalagram shila would come out of his mouth. But he would hide it in his cloth, and then, and by sleight of hand, and he's manifesting shalagram shila from his own body. He must be God, right? So, people are silly in what they think is the power of God. Easily cheated. So this Vibhikshana, he had this mystic power, and he declared himself to be Krishna, and he also said that I'm going to start a revolution and reestablish, Bharatvarsha, and I will be the leader and the king, right? So he openly declared throughout Orissa, I am Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I've come to enjoy my pastimes. Many of the young ladies and girls of Orissa, beguiled by this yogi's display of mystic powers, desperately wanted to sing and dance with him on the Purnim, the full moon night. As a result, the husbands of these ladies, as well as many high-class and educated people, filed a court case against the yogi. The government assigned Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur to manage the case. Right. They were distressed. And of course, the girls, this is what happens when you have material desires, and then you can authorize them under the banner of spirituality, then you just have complete degradation. Right? That's how Osha, what was his name before that? What? Rajneesh. Right. Thank you, Rajneesh. I remember when they were there in India in the 70s. I was living in Bombay and they were in Pune. And they would just basically say, He said all the Vedas are all bogus, you don't have to follow anything. What you have to do is, if you want liberation, you have to exhaust all your material desires. And the way to do that is to come together and enjoy unlimitedly. Basically, it's all these Euro hippie yogis having orgies, authorized orgies, and in this way you become ecstatic. And of course, they were ecstatic, in a way, in a way. And he collected enormous amounts of money, obviously, right? Eat, drink, and be merry, and then go to God. Be God. That's what it was, Enjoy here as a little God, and then become one with God later. It's just the way to go. So, this is, that's what's happening. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur went to see that yogi who, although he had not heard from anyone, knew who the Thakur was and why he had come. The yogi calmly told him, "Oh, you are Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the deputy magistrate. You have come to file a court case against me, but you cannot, for I am Krishna himself. I have come to engage in the rasa dance, and during the next full moon night I will do so. No one, not even the government, can oppose me. Soon I will fight against the entire government and drive the British out of India. Then I will become the emperor of all India." So this is another trick that people use. You find something that people really want, and then, certainly I can give it to you very easily. Cheaters and cheated. Not only was he engaging for his own gratification and that of others in illicit sexual behavior, but to attract the intellectual class who felt oppressed by the British. I will liberate us all. I will drive all the British out. He might be able to do it. He's got this mystic power. He might be able to do it. So they're all reluctant, right, what to do. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was acting on behalf of the government, and they didn't want this kind of social disturbance going on either. Bhaktivinoda Thakur saw it from the perspective of the contamination of Vedic teachings. The British government saw it from the perspective of social disturbance to the law and order that they were mandating. So, this was a very serious matter. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur replied sternly, "I know that you are a Siddha yogi, but you are not God and your powers are insignificant. I have come to tell you to renounce your false claims and give up your plans to engage in the imitation rasa dance. I am giving you 7 days to retract your statements. If you do not, I will arrest you and file a court case against you." The yogi answered, "You cannot arrest me. Try to do what you can against me, but I will not change my plans to do the rasa dance." Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur returned after 7 days, accompanied by the police inspector and his men, and he told the yogi, "I have come to arrest you if you do not change your plans." The yogi replied arrogantly, "Oh, you still don't know me? I am the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. I must perform the rasa dance. I will not change my plans." Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ordered the police, "Arrest him." When they tried to capture the yogi, he shook his head from side to side, and long flames flew from his matted locks. The police inspector and his men were very frightened and quickly ran away, dropping their guns and clubs in their haste to escape. You might be afraid too, right? I'm not getting near that guy. God or not, it's all above my head. I don't want to be burned by those locks. Left alone to deal with the yogi, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur leapt forward, grabbed Bibhikshana by the hair, and forcibly cut off his matted locks with a pair of scissors. The Thakur subdued him and took him to the criminal court of Orissa in Puri, where a date was fixed for a hearing. The Thakur was accustomed to awakening in the night at about 12 a.m., performing bhajan and writing transcendental poems until 4 a.m. He would sing and recite shlokas from Gitavali, Sharanagati, Kalyana Kalpataru, Srimad Bhagavatam, the writings of Rupa Goswami, Yamunacharya, and other Vaishnava authors. Deep in the night, he would recite and sing these shlokas, totally absorbed in his bhajan. And after that, he would write his decisions and judgments for various cases. Yeah, you can see his schedule that's available. Early in the morning of the day that he was to hear the case, the Thakur was beset with severe stomach pains that were so intense that he could not do his work. His wife was alarmed and exclaimed, "Why are you giving so much trouble to that yogi? By his curse you may die." The Thakur answered, "Oh, I will not die. The pain is here only for a moment. It will pass." Krishna will allow his devotees to put into difficulty to show the strength of their bhakti, their consideration of the insignificance of material obstacles, and how they overcome that by their faith. Right? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur went to the court that morning and summoned the yogi to appear. Bibhikshen was insolent and spoke a warning to the Thakur. "Do you remember last night I sent you so much pain?" The Thakur dismissed him, saying, "I know what you did, but your powers are insignificant. You cannot intimidate me." After that, the yogi was not able to do anything to harm him. By his example, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur demonstrated that if anyone is chanting the holy names of the Lord, all kinds of disease, magic, and other negative influences can be checked. He then addressed the yogi. "If you decide not to perform the rasa dance, and if you behave like a common citizen, and renounce your claim to be Krishna, I may be lenient in my judgment. Otherwise, you will have to spend 6 months in prison doing hard labor." And they mean hard. Indian prisons are rough. And hard labor, pounding rocks and all that kind of stuff. That puffed up yogi would not comply, and thus he was sent to prison, where he died from a self-imposed fast. This is an example of how Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur expertly administered in the district, and there were so many other incidences while he was in Puri. Yeah, there's much more in this article, and so we don't have time to finish it. I think tomorrow is the appearance or disappearance of Srila Bhaktivinoda, of Haridas Thakur. So we can speak of him and then maybe read more about Bhaktivinoda Thakur tomorrow. So we'll stop here. Now for obeisance to our Srila Prabhupada, to Srila Gurudev, to our Guru Parampara, especially to Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur, asking for his blessings in our practice and in our mission. And to all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, Gaur Premanande.